Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Fatu Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Fatu.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it!
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what can we tell you? Well, happy Thanksgiving, America.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I'm not an American, but I love that country, man. Hope you guys have an amazing holiday. Lots of turkey and family and all that great stuff. That's you guys ready for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have ours about a month before you guys have yours, but awesome. Yeah. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. JJ's here. Welcome, JJ. Don't think we've had you here before. Thanks for being here. Big Chris Dog going to say some things people won't like tonight, but so be it. We got a topic tonight. Yeah. Media Mike, Money Mike, demonetizing Mike. He can get us demonetized. That's not a good thing. We love you, Mike. And Willie's always here. Tyrus will be the biggest turkey this Thanksgiving. He will also be making toilets overflow on Thanksgiving Thursday. I told him you gotta keep Tyrus away from the gravy boat, guys. But we are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, Major League Wrestling, and various independents around the world. My name's Tim. I go by Alliance Gold. This gentleman right over here, at least on my screen, this is Jeremy. How's your week been, my friend?
Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And this fantasy booker extraordinaire down here in the screen, this is Dave Scooby. Y'all ready for Turkey Day?
Definitely. And I did hear a quote-unquote rumor and innuendo relating to the Dr. James Mitchell
Cocaine Gate?
Yeah, Cocaine Gate. We'll call it that. That it was done due to the fact that NWA has announced that they're going back to the territory, and they wanted to make the territory days as close to how it was back in the 70s and 80s. So that's why they ended up doing what was done at Samhain, and I guess toot sweet.
I don't know, man. Like, we talk about it in the Alliance Discord about, just for shits and giggles, about like worst match, worst feud, worst booking of the year. I can't think of a thing that meant less to anybody. Nobody got over in Cocaine Gate. Nobody came out ahead for that. I don't remember watching Ric Flair do cocaine in the territory days back in the 80s. I don't know. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of great things happening with the NWA, and then of course I'm going to bury the headline a little bit. We'll talk about the NWA getting on the CW app rather quietly yesterday, which is really big news. We'll get to it super quick, but we'll also have some. We'll touch on some of the NWA Power highlights, a little bit less than usual, because we do have a review. Mr. Scooby was in Philly, wasn't it? Over for MLW FIGHTLAND, which I didn't realize only had 4 matches.
I know. I kept looking at it and I'm like, man. And then I realized, I'm like, well, the main event of Alex Kane and Jacob Fatu, it was 48 minutes long. And it for me, it flew by. And it's one of these things that it was just, we'll get into it in the review, but I mean, it was enjoyable, but I really don't enjoy pay-per-views or live events that go on and on and on, that have 15 plus matches, or just it's overload. This way I could enjoy all the matches I saw. There were some tapings before and then some tapings after that dealt with what happened at the pay-per-view itself. So it was to me, it was enjoyable. And I just wish more people would give MLW a chance.
Yeah, and I think just tuning into to watch Fusion, I thought, man, I got to start picking this up again. Like, not even Jeremy's been into Memphis lately for UWN. So that may have changed this week. I don't know, but nope. But yeah, the boy MLW is right up my alley. It continues to be. We'll talk about it like you said, but that includes Jacob Fatu versus Alex Kane, which is just got to be, like, just on paper anyway, it's a banger. And Matt Cardona versus Mance Warner, count me in. That's amazing. Let's start positive though, and I'm going to get to this comment from you, Mike, in a bit when we talk about the app in about 5 or 10 minutes. Because there's some good stuff to talk about first, and then the massive news. I am going to bury the headline a little bit, as I say, so I want to start off on the right foot. And some of that, I'm just going to set it up here. So, like, big things happening with the NWA guys. We had the FTW invasion. How do I get you guys in the right spot for that? Jeremy's like, whoa. Here we go. I think it's this one. There we go. Close enough. This was back on the 17th, just 5 days ago, which was a nice little interaction between the NWA and FTW, right? Another indie crossover with them. We had Robarts with the return to Robarts and the power taping. That this is a picture I'm going to show you guys that Tim Storm put out. There's 1,000 people reportedly at this event for the Robarts taping. And like for the NWA, that's phenomenal. Very, very happy to hear that. And I've heard some talk about how, they were chanting, please come back at the end of the event. So it sounds like it was an amazing success all the way around. 1,000 people is a great number. Scooby and I were at 75, and I don't remember how many people we said were there, but 500, 6, 4? I don't even remember. It was about that, right? So that's an incredible number for them. And then I saw a couple other things. Camille, whose contract is going to be expiring at the end of this year, we learned this week. And we don't know where her future will be. She'll be taking on OVW's rather popular Hollywood Haley J on the Title Match Network, which is good exposure with OVW, which we'll also talk about in a second. We got Billy Corgan's announcement coming up in Coalfield, Tennessee, with Joe Kazana Promotions, and people suggesting that might be the next territory for the NWA. This isn't especially NWA, but the release of the Iron Claw, the Von Erich movie coming out in a month from today, I believe. Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear now, used to be on Shameless, and which of course has, Brady Pierce and Thrillbilly Silas Mason and MJF as as people in this. That's a great boon for the NWA to talk about. They just seem to be talked about everywhere. I was on Last Word on Sports, which is kind of a fan-driven site. I think people are paid to contribute articles of somewhat quality, but it means that the fans are speaking about it when they're saying, hey, here's 4 people in Pretty Empowered, Colby Carino, Kerry Morton, Natalia Markova, who are bound for greatness in the near future. And like, that's from a fan's point of view, which I thought was really interesting. And then obviously last night we saw this. We saw, if you guys tuned into Thanksgiving Thunder and OVW on YouTube, that's EC3, your NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, becoming the OVW National Heavyweight Champion, their top title. He essentially is the champ of both promotions now.
Wow.
That bag, man, I don't know. but there you go. Which draws further OVW and the NWA even closer together. Now there's, again, I just wanted to kind of ramble about all the great things that are happening for the NWA, because there's been so many, pieces that have come up in the last little while online, that haven't, with Cocaine Gate, as we've kind of named it on this show or in the Alliance, and whether or not it cost them a CW deal, which we'll talk about now. And all of the other stuff that particularly the House of Wrestling website has reported on the NWA almost exclusively by themselves. So lots of good stuff happening. I'll just go here before we get to the actual thing. We're not here to talk about MLW. We're here to talk about Kenzie Page and Big Strong Mims. Well, we're going to do both. Well, if you're looking for the review of Power, that's tomorrow night, my friend. That's with the boss. That's with Jay and DKM and Jaden at 8 p.m. Eastern. They will run through Power and all of that stuff. We'll just touch on it. Was there, Big Chris Dog says, was there an FTW invasion if no one knows it happened? My biggest thing with a problem with the NWA right now, guys, is the lack of promotion, and it's kind of been that way for a while. And I figure, like, if they're going to throw money anywhere, I hope it's to promote. Am I right or wrong, Dave?
I mean, if you don't know stuff's going on, you miss it. I mean, they should be pushing anything and everything, dealing with the territories, anytime a champion is wrestling, whether it's in the NWA or outside. Hey, we need to know.
Yep. JJ says sign Haley J soon as fuck. I mean, she had a tryout opportunity with WWE that, for as we heard, medical reasons didn't go her way, and hopefully she'll go back and be able to do that. But yeah, bound for greater things just on a popularity level. Chris is right. He won the national title EC3, not the main OVW belt. I kind of look, Jeremy, you have watched, or I don't know if you're still watching OVW, but I kind of look at the OVW title the same way I look at like Championship Wrestling's main title. Like, it's almost backseat to now that EC3 has the national title, the same way that Championship Wrestling's title that Kevin Martinson has. I had to think about that. Who's the champ right now? When Danny Limelight is on the show all the time. So
yeah,
pretty exciting that he's got both. What did you think of that?
It's definitely exciting. It gets more eyes on their product. You got a name that is recognizable in the wrestling sphere. So it was a smart move to give him their national title instead of their heavyweight title. I think I'm not 100% sure if it was how smart it was. But again, though, it gets eyes on the product. That was their main event, was that match. And I was watching the chat, and that's what a good portion of the people were there for, was to see that match.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And you know what? It went on for a long time. It was a fairly decent match, fairly serviceable for those two guys when they're both bigger guys. But I enjoyed it. We also heard, talk about OVW and how EC3 is the champ of both. You've got, I know it's not an OVW or NWA match, but Camille versus Haley J. They also kind of spoke very briefly about it on the NWA podcast with our friend Gary Horn and Joe Galley and Kyle Davis are over there as well, about how there might be some involvement with OVW at some point in the future. It kind of seems likely. That's exciting for me, not just because OVW is a regular name in the independent scene. It's been around for a fairly long time, but also from the exposure that OVW got from wrestlers on Netflix, which we covered for a few weeks on here. And I think it's an amazing, just one more line, an amazing opportunity for the NWA. You know what I really like, Dave? This has grown on me. As a fan, I've thought, why won't the NWA say anything about all of these, these comments that are coming out of House of Wrestling or other places? Why do they always stand mute, as I've been saying? I kind of starting to respect it and love it now.
Yeah.
It's just they're not ready, and they're not going to let anybody else tell them when they're ready.
I mean, it's one of these things until it's official. I mean, CW has NWA programming available on its app, but until it is made official, it's there. We all know it, but it's one of these things of don't tip your cap too quickly.
Right.
That it's one of these things of, I mean, like you were talking about the guys, this is the NWA, that they were talking about possibly working with OVW down the line. Well, even if there's not belts involved, you have to make mention, Camille, former NWA women's champion. Anytime that OVW is on TV now, their national champion is also the NWA World champion. So right. If you watch, you heard and saw how they mentioned NWA all the time. So it's a win-win for everybody. And we don't have to do an invasion angle or so-and-so versus so-and-so all the time. But I'd like to see Jesse Goddard show up at a NWA pay-per-view down the line and go, hey, I want my belt back. I don't want the championship. Yep. I want my belt back. And when I win my belt back, then I'm coming back for your belt.
I 100% agree. Jeremy's doing the patented championship wrestling from Jeremy Point whenever Dave is right. Willie Bowen.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's never been wrong. So
I agree.
Fucking pay the man, Billy.
I agree. Willie Bowen, the unofficial uncrowned flag bearer of the alliance. OVW should be a territory affiliated with the NWA, since EC3 is the OVW National Heavyweight Champion and the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. It's exactly it. Like, they don't have to, even if it's not an official territory thing, they want to maintain their own autonomy. Great. Just integrate, baby. Just like Dave was saying, let's get Jesse Goddard's Mr. Spectacular up on Power, and hunting down EC3. I'm all for that. That guy's great, by the way. He looks like $1 million, and I love his gimmick. Media Mike says NWA stands mute itself, or Billy, due to EC3 does the talking with Houseman and likes to set things straight. Yeah, a lot of strange bullshit in those comments with House of Wrestling. I don't want to give those articles too much credit. I would say initially it looks like that thing was correct, I guess, but there's a lot of slanted reporting in there and nothing corroborated. So I'm just whatever. JJ says, love everything NWA. That cocaine spot was a big ass deal. And I don't think anyone wants to ignore it. I just don't think that there's any source beyond Nick Houseman at House of Wrestling saying that cost them the CWA spot, and that as a result, they're going to the app. Nobody has, suggested other than him that's the case. Willie, I don't know what you guys think of Father James Mitchell. He's over the top, but I enjoy Jim Mitchell. That guy cuts a great promo, and he's a lot of fun, and he's the perfect mouthpiece for people like Max the Impaler. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy?
He's got his place in wrestling. Like you said, he's a great mouthpiece for individuals like Max, Judias, Gags the Gimp, who can't talk because his mouth is zipped shut. And whenever he does unzip it, it's just his fucking tongue waggling all over the place. So,
yeah,
he definitely needs somebody to talk for him. He's not my particular cup of tea.
Yeah,
but I like a lot of different teas, so I don't have to drink. I don't have to drink from that cup. But he serves his purpose, and he does a good job. I've never heard anyone complain about him.
Yeah.
In the wrestling sphere, he is very well respected within the wrestling circles and backstage and that. So to each their own, though.
When I first, my heart kind of melted for James Mitchell was when I saw him on, I think it was Dark Side of the Ring, and he was talking about Mortis, about Chris Kanyon, and told that story, and I just went, oh, what a nice thing to say and to do for his friend, and great talent, Chris Kanyon, certainly missed. Anyway,
he was basically his punching bag.
Yeah. Hey, our friend Dodie said, relax, guys. Billy said 2 TV deals. Who cannot wait for Tara's Culinary Adventures at Food Network?
I am so, Dodie, you got me hyped up for this, man. I need it to happen now.
Yeah, that's right. All right, listen, we've buried the headline for 25 minutes. NWA quietly announced yesterday, hey, it's already up, and there it is. There's, 8 or 15 episodes or whatever it is of season 15 on which is about 8 episodes of this year leading up to Sawin, the pay-per-view, on the CW app. This is really big news in a way that I think we're just starting to grasp, and we will only fully understand once it gets rolling. I think, again, it was so quiet, many people expected an announcement to be made. It was just Yeah, it's here. It was almost like someone went, "Did you guys notice this?" And they went, yeah, we're doing that now," which was apparently always the plan, we're told. But it is a big deal in the sense, like the CW, according to a post I read recently from Mr. David Marquez, reaches 99% of U.S. homes, and that is more than ABC, NBC, or Fox. It's available over the air. It reaches, as I say, almost 100% of all the homes in the U.S. Now, the app itself, who put it up in our Discord? I think it was Heebs, right? 92 million times that app has been downloaded.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, because Dodie and I are in the same boat. Dodie's overseas. I'm north of you guys. The CW app is not available outside of the U.S. Our friend Chris Flackett in England, there's Roscoe HBK down in Australia. I guess we're all going to have to get VPNs, but it is, and trick our TVs into thinking we're somewhere else. But it's not available outside of the United States, so there is that, and I'm not freaking out yet. But anyway, for you guys inside the United States, as Matt Muller, welcome, Matt. Man, that can be promotion saving. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the promotion needed saving or not, Dave, but that's a huge stepping stone for the NWA to be on a platform that is other big wrestling companies use.
Well, it's one of these things. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, well, them being on YouTube, they have this and this." Well, they're not making the money. They make some money, but it's nothing that financially helps the NWA seriously. They're being paid by CW.
Yep.
It's one of these things that we'll find out when they're going to be on down the line. But it's one of these things that if their program is shown, let's say it's shown on Saturdays at noon, that's cool. Then on that Sunday, that programming can also be uploaded to YouTube, but not the full show. If they separate it and if there's 3 matches and they put 2 of the matches out on the YouTube channel, it's one of these things. We'll show you enough to get you interested, but we want you to watch our programming.
Right.
And with either the TV station in your local market or using the app, you can watch the full program. And I mean, like Tim, you're up in Canada. Okay, you'll have to do a VPN. We've done that with some of our properties that are outside of the United States at the places I've worked. And it basically, it's just tricking the internet into thinking you're somewhere you're not.
Yeah.
So
it's not that hard, right?
It's not that. It's just, it's a go around. It's not illegal, but it's not totally legal. It's something you could get your hands slapped for, but nothing serious will happen.
Yeah, and the reason it's different up here is because Canada, when it comes to broadcasting, is one of the stupidest countries in the world. Like, we have to have Canadian content to a certain percentage in any given category of show, and whether that's news, whether that's sports, whatever. And it's the CRTC, they're called. You've got to they got to essentially get their control and their cut for it to be anything. So there you go. Hey, a couple of things here just in the chat. This is what we're saying, Jeremy. Less than a week till the X-Pro show, and no mention of it, Chris says, from the NWA. But then, they're hyping up the appearances in Tennessee. It's about promote, and like we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. I I completely get the sentiment of we know that something's happening at Exodus Pro, but that's us, and that's because we pay attention like hawks to what the NWA is doing, whereas the average person probably has no idea that anything's going on with Exodus Pro that might be an NWA watcher. You know, they don't tune in every week, but they tune in whenever something catches their eye. But again, this is kind of business as usual, though, with the NWA. They're consistently late on the draw when it comes to promoting shit. We get full match cards a couple of days before, in some instances, before the pay-per-view. You know, so
it's always been this way, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's always been this way. And we pointed out every time. At this point, we're starting to sound like broken records.
It's true.
They're going to do it the way that they're going to do it until they eventually realize that they're messing up.
Right.
Nothing's going to sway that.
And then, you know, talking specifically about the app, James H. Jackson, and we say this every once in a while on this show, you got to follow James H. Jackson on Twitter. That guy gives me scoops.
Yep.
He'll be like, hey, pay attention to this. Yeah.
He gets down there at the bottom where all the goodness is, you know, all the fudge ripple and caramel is settled down there. He gets deep down in there and gives that shit to you.
We're putting you over. James says, okay, so CW has been downloaded 82 million times. The YouTube app has been downloaded 20 billion times. But it has been pointed out, though, that probably the amount of funds that you're getting paid from one versus the other make it, much more lucrative to go to the app that pays more. And, you know, obviously it's about revenue and generating the revenue. That means more money for production, more money for marquee names, more money for just like the regular talent to stay on board, you know. Like we said, we heard Camille's leaving at the end of the year. I kind of want to keep Camille. Like this is a talent that has held the NWA together for the past couple of years. She's been the focal point. And then he says we have to lose a few overseas fans to gain new users and the NWA to make more money. I mean, I can't abide by that, being kind of a technically, not technically overseas, but out of country anyway. But as we say, I'm sure there'll be a way around that. Noob & Co. says, I'm happy the NWA is finally getting a performance center. I haven't heard that, unless you just mean the territory system. But I got a question. Is Natalia Markova going to stay in the NWA? Because like I said, she's waiting for a big contract. So Markova and Brian Idol, who will be, I believe, on next week's Power. I'm not speaking out of turn for that, I don't think, am I? I think that's what has been reported.
Yep.
Are in charge of the promotion or wrestling school in Florida that the NWA has dealings with. And so I would expect that they're probably going to stay for a fair bit of time. So Natalia Markova is like a 14, 15-year veteran as well. Like, I don't think that she's destined for, you know, anywhere. I could see her in Impact. I could see her maybe in AEW. And she is an amazing talent. She has to go somewhere at some point. But I haven't heard anything that she's going to be going anywhere else. Actually, Doty's just saying it right now. Natalia won't be going anywhere for a while. Especially she and Brian Idol will be busy with FTW, likely becoming another NWA territory. That's the one in Florida. James says, and you can buy tickets for the upcoming Joe Kazana promotions event on the NWA site. So they are promoting those front and center on their website at the top of the page as soon as you land on the page. That's amazing. Chris wants an executive to handle the day-to-day like Tom Pritchard. Big news that they're going to CW is, I guess, what we want to take away from this. And despite the negative connotations that people have had from the Cocaine Gate spot and the other reporting, I'm going to use these air quotes again, reporting that has been done behind the scenes by one source and just retweeted and put out by somebody else. There's been a lot more positive than there has been negative. Hey, it's Jammin' Music Man. It's been a while. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Who's doing your site welcome now? Have you still got Sexy Jesus doing that, or who's leading us into the Jammin' Music Man site on YouTube these days? Paladin's here. Paladin, good to see you. None of you guys look happy about the news. How long have you been here? I am happy about the news. I think it is a big deal for the NWA.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either one of you guys want to throw? I've been, as usual, dominating the conversation. I apologize. You guys want to talk any more about the app stuff?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the news. Go ahead, Dave.
I mean, it's one of these things. I mean, they can complain all they want about the app. If you have a cell phone, you're watching who knows what on your cell phone or on your computer monitor, your laptop, or even if you have a regular TV flat screen up on there, you have apps that are downloaded on your TV. So
right.
These things, embrace the technology. Because, I mean, anytime I go to watch anything on YouTube, it asks if I want to link it up with my TV in my room. We have 7 TVs in our house. So any room you go into besides the bathroom, there's a TV.
Right.
So wherever you go, if you're watching something on your phone and you want to watch it on the big screen, it'll say, do you want to sync up? You click yes or no, and it's there. Embrace the technology. Just because something is on an app doesn't make it bad.
No, a lot of advantages.
I mean, think about it. Twitter or X is an app on your phone. I don't know a lot of people, unless you're at work, that you're on a laptop or a desktop and you're looking at Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. You're either looking at it on a computer or on your phone or on an iPad, some kind of device. It's one of these things. You have to embrace this new stuff.
Right.
And when I say new stuff, I mean, I'm not really fast to embrace something, but it's the future. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
That down the line, yeah, there's still going to be quote unquote regular TV. Like you're not always listening to music, or you're streaming stuff, or you're listening to Sirius XM. But there's still radio and TV out there that is local to each market. You just pick and choose what you listen to or what you watch. So embrace the new technology and use what you want. But like I said, if you don't use it, you lose it. That there may not be a chance for you to watch the NWA,
right,
unless you use the app and then just sync it up with your TV and boom, you're there. Or download it on your TV. Boom, it's right there.
So I haven't had cable in, I don't know, the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
I stream everything.
Yep.
So, but I understand how the PayMec, sorry, inside word for my business, how the pay structure works for that for television versus streaming services, advertisers want to be on TV. That generates income. That's why TV is still number one. Speaking about this stuff, Jamin says he's got Jared Fritz doing the opening, and I'd forgotten about that. Good for you, man. I love Jared Fritz. That guy's so super positive all the time on Twitter. Like Paladin has said, do you guys think Corgan cost the NWA a TV deal? Willie thinks so. Paladin says, I read the NWA is paying the CW to be on their app. Look, I feel like however right House of Wrestling might have been that CW was the station, app or otherwise, that's just speculation. Anything beyond that is speculation.
And here's another thing. The CW app shows everything that they offer. Now, just because it's on the app doesn't mean that they're it's also offered up to regional markets for them to pick up as a time filler, as opposed to getting an infomercial or something like that. We don't know all of the inner workings of what Billy and the CW came to an agreement for with the NWA. And this could very well just be a soft rollout just to see, well, how's it going to do? Maybe we will pick it up later on at a later date. TV contracts are complex and very layered. So a lot of people say a lot of things, but until I hear it from the actual sources, Billy and the NWA, the CW, I'm not really buying anything that any wrestling journalist is putting out there right now.
Agreed. Dave, you want to say something?
I was just going to pass along that everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But much as people rag on Billy, if Billy wouldn't have bought the NWA, who knows where 75 to 100 of these people that work for the NWA now would be. We may not have ever seen Trevor Murdoch make a return to wrestling. It's one of these things. Don't hate just to hate. He's going to do what he wants to do, but if he didn't buy the NWA, we may not be. I may never have met you, Tim. I may have never met Jeremy.
Right.
So it's one of those things. Right. Take the good and just leave the bad. You can talk all you want about, oh, well, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. He bought it. It's his.
Yeah.
Do what he wants.
That's right.
There's people that I would have never known because if Billy would have never bought the NWA, I would have never met Gary Horn. I would have never met some of the wrestlers that we know. So it's one of these things of I have no vested interest besides liking wrestling.
Yeah, man. You got to look at those things that way, right?
So it's just enjoy it. If you don't like it, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you later.
Yep. Hey, listen, you guys all know J. Cal pretty well, and he's the nicest man on the planet. And if he owned the NWA, hundreds of thousands of people would hate his guts. You know what I mean? It's all about perception. There's no reason to crap on it. The product's doing well. And this is the last thing before we go into power I want to say, if I can, guys. Wars are not won by instantly just there's one assault and then you're on top, you're the victor. When wars on a battlefield historically have been fought, You take ground, you lose ground. You take ground, you lose ground. It is a step-by-step process. Sometimes you go backwards with the inevitable ladder climbing up slowly, slowly, slowly. Mic drop from Scooby. Boom. It is a process, and I feel like it's going in the right direction. And Riot Act, who's here, welcome. Think there's too much speculation and not enough facts. 100%.
Seeing you talking about it like that is giving me flashbacks of Fridays and Saturday nights of 3 o'clock in the morning, just giving up on risk, and I'm done. You can have all my land, you can have all my soldiers, you can have my armies. I want to go to bed.
Got to start in Ukraine, buddy. Ukraine is strong. Hey, listen, go read The Bastard Brigade. It's an excellent book. Look, bottom line, James H. Jackson says is because the NWA, everyone here is considered family. Absolutely.
Yep.
Man, that's right to Dave's point, man. We all respect everyone's opinions and love to hear them. Let's talk about some power. Highlights and lowlights real quick, because the full show will be talked about tomorrow at 8 p.m. on the Alliance guys, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with a recap power. But I like to do just to point out a couple of things that I thought were advanced. Listen, the turkey gobbler match was silly between CJ and Aaron, but I thought it was also kind of oddly satisfying, Jeremy. Like it was kind of this one shot, and if that's the end of it, I was okay with it. What did you think?
If we don't get any more of it, I'm good. If we do, okay. It was what it was, and it was kind of fun, but I don't.
It was stupid, right? Like CJ makes Aaron Stevens tap in a rusty SDF.
Yeah.
But okay, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. That's what it felt like.
Gobble gobble.
I guess. Doty, and because Billy bought the NWA, here we are as NWA fam, right? There we go, man.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, it was silly. My wife is right. I thought Jay wasn't doing it tomorrow because of the U.S. Thanksgiving. I guess we should have probably done it, but we got enough on the plate tonight anyway. If it was a one shot, like I say, I'm good with it. It was a nice Thanksgiving piece. Here's some comedy for everybody at home.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was actually really cool, talking about Father James Mitchell earlier, was the podium thing, Dave, where he just got on the mic and talked for Max while she held up her TJPW Princess title and her NWA TV title, and he just went in there and said, Kenzie, anytime they want, Max is coming for that title, because they dealt you the most painful loss that the NWA Lightning One era has ever seen at an event, which is true. We were there for it. And Mims, watch your back, because they might be there. What did you think of Father James and Max at the podium?
It was impressive for me. Max doesn't need to talk, and if Max ever does end up talking, it will be one of those shock and awe moments. But Max does all of their speaking in the ring,
right? Just
by wrestling. I like this little interview, little spot done in front of the crowd.
Right.
Now all I need to see is the crowd every once in a while. I can hear them. I just want to see them every once in a while.
Right.
Baby steps, but I liked how they did the interview at the podium. And it's one of those things of some of the things he was saying, I'm like, well, mentioning Mims, I'm like, well, could Max go after Mims and go after that title and they just merge the belts and it's a TV title? It's one of those things that Max is a special wrestler and you have to tread lightly on what direction you go with Max. But I'd push Max to the moon myself.
Me too. Special talent are the words that you use there. That I absolutely agree. If they ever do have Max speak, though, I want it to be like Silent Bob in when he finally speaks. Right when I just want Max to be like slowly frustrated for like an entire show or several weeks, like no one can understand gags or something like that, right? And then just finally lose it and say, he's saying this, you stupid fucks, or whatever it was that Max would say. Hey,
it has to be something profound and deep and just,
right.
Completely catches everyone off guard.
Yes, puts on a pair of glasses and reads something profound and deep. Take a look at this, by the way, speaking of Max. This is in the NWA shop right now. This is Max's tee that Max is very happy with. The art was donated. Yeah, the art was donated to them by I forget Scarborough's full name, but a relatively famous artist for these things. And 100% of the proceeds of Max the Impaler's t-shirts go to the Trevor Project, which is helps prevent suicide amongst LGBTQ teens, which is amazing. So I love this t-shirt. This is amazing. Sick. Yeah. Just go back to the chat for a sec. TNA, they're talking about Starrcade. Here we go. I'm sorry, I got to say yes, like yourself, Tim and Jeremy. We said it was good, fun, and all else. The ending. Okay, so this is the Turkey Gobbler match. CJ did a submission hold, but it made Aaron look legit weak or dumb taping that quick. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
I get where Mike's coming from with that, because in the NWA, she has not been painted as being even knowledgeable of what wrestling actually is. If this match had played out outside of the NWA, it would have totally made sense for her to whoop his ass, because she could probably legit beat most of the guys on the roster at point. Well, not most, but she could definitely probably beat the junior heavyweights.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's kind of fun how they've presented her as like, well, she's just been this sidekick and, the beautiful assistant. And here she is doing some of the wrestling moves that Christy James is known to do. I don't think it actually was a pay-per-view, Willie. I think it was closed circuit television, to be fair, the first Starrcade.
Yep.
But it's the early version of it anyway. There you go. Yes, Jeremy. Yeah, but Aaron's retired and older, so Paladin says makes sense that a young woman can beat him. There you go. Oh, yeah, it's male versus female. Yeah, where one isn't a wrestler. So anyway, also we had debuts. Were the other things we had Big Mama having a strong debut. I don't know much about Big Mama, but I didn't have any problem with her presentation, dropping a match to Kylie Page. And we had these two guys, I got to be honest, the Slime Balls I've never heard of before. Slime Ball Sage Chance and Slime Time Tommy Rant, who had their podium debut. And they seemed, I I mean, I don't know what the gimmick is. It looked like it was part Public Enemy in appearance and part, I don't know, Dudley Boys, I guess, in a way. They just kind of seem nutty and loopy and everything slime time. Do you know these guys? Either one of you guys?
No, I'm definitely going to look them up. It's one of these things that I don't know what to think yet, but just by looking at them, I don't like them. Just by their appearance, the way they're talking, they're playing their character well.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of these things of, I'd rather the NWA bring in a couple teams here and there to work the tapings and possibly a pay-per-view rather than throw together teams. They have matching outfits. They have a team name. They're doing their job. If you don't like them, if you do like them, cool, that's what you like. But rather than throw together talents in the NWA, the tag teams like the Immortals, if they end up going after the Immortals, hey, let's go after the U.S. tag belts. Okay, well, you need fodder for your teams to keep them looking good. You don't want the same wrestlers over and over going after the belts and not winning. Mix it up. Have several teams, if you can, in one taping to build these belts up and make them mean something. We'll see what we do down the line, but I didn't mind seeing them, and I'm glad that they just were at the podium and didn't wrestle this week. They're building up and actually doing some pre-promotion for them to wrestle down the line.
It's interesting that they gave what, I mean, I am not a good example of somebody who's well-rounded in wrestling. I do not watch WWE. I don't watch AEW. I just watch the news and I see the clips and all that stuff. But I don't watch the programs. I have never heard of these guys before on the indie scene at all. So it's interesting. I assume that maybe they've come out of FTW or, EC3's promotion, or they're some of these people, Jeremy. I don't know.
The one looked like he came from fucking Recess.
Oh
yeah.
He did not look like he was old enough to reach the gas pedal and the brake. But they were amped up. They were animated. They got their point across. I'm not sure what that point was, other than they're kind of slimy, but they have personality. They have good personality. They have a good personality. Well, I'll leave it at that. They have a good personality.
Yeah, like the Recess comment there. That's good. I was going to go for a TJ Detweiler joke, but I didn't know if anybody would get it. James H. Jackson says, I feel that's where the territories will come in handy, as if a team needs to be repackaged or the gimmick they have is not working, so they can go away to the territories and work on repackaging them.
Yep.
And then come back and power fresh. I totally agree. That is the main benefit, I think, overall, right? We also saw in debuts, I had to look the names up because, as Dodie pointed out in the Discord, there was no banner for these four young men who were in a tag team match. Hollywood Hunter James and Adrian Thomas versus Jackson Drake and Lev the Messiah. Don't know who they were. I thought they were. It was a solid indie match of tag team of young guys, but the standouts to me, I thought, Dave, were Adrian Thomas and Hunter James.
Yeah.
In that match. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, this is one of those things where if there's no story told before, we don't know what's going on. I I don't know why this match was actually there. They even mentioned that they're not regular tag teams. They were just thrown together. So this is one of those things that this could have been taped and shown just on YouTube of, hey, here's a circle squared type match where
Right.
you have 4 wrestlers, they're tagging, the winning tag team gets a chance to go against the slime balls in the coming weeks, and whichever of those teams win get a chance at the next pay-per-view to go after the US tag belts.
Right.
Build it up some way. That's the one thing that the NWA doesn't always explain. They may know what's going on, but they don't clearly explain on the program why something is happening. Give me an explanation and say, hey, we got these 4 guys that are wanting to wrestle, so we figure we'd tag them up and may the best team win. The winning team goes after another debuting team, and then that team, whoever wins between those two, has a chance at the title belts at the next pay-per-view. Give us a story. Let us know what's going on. Just because you know what's going on doesn't mean everyone else is privy to the information that you have.
Right. 100%. Put him in something, have him walk on and like, I'll take the spectaculars on. Look at this, look at these losers or whatever. Do something.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you got that look like what Mike is saying down here with the Nickelodeon slime spot is going to happen. Like you can see this happening now. You said the magic word.
I just have the sneaking suspicion that somebody's going to say, I don't know, and green slime's going to fall from the ceiling and on somebody in the middle of the ring now because Mike's brought it up. Thanks, Mike. I can totally see Billy going, hey, that's a pretty good idea.
James H. Jackson says, I'd live to see YouTube used that way. I'd like to see YouTube used that way in the future to bring back the USA name and even make it a shorter show, like 25 or 30 minutes tops. Yeah, man. We need the content here, okay? Give us the content.
Anytime, bro. Seriously, Mike. Asshole.
Paladin says Corgan's changing direction with the NWA. He said himself in interviews that nostalgia doesn't sell. Don't be surprised if they become like WWE over time. I don't know if it was Doty. I think it was probably Doty who said, like, you got to keep it as the niche that it is. Like if you look at AEW, it came out of that. Was it All In, the first pay-per-view they had years ago?
Yep.
And where Cody, I guess, and the Bucks said, I think Meltzer said something like, "You'll never get more than 2,000 people at a indie pay-per-view or whatever." And Cody and the Bucks kind of said, "Hold my beer," right? And then AEW got born out of that, and there was so much hype, and then it became like WWE, and now it's not different. That's why MLW is so much more exciting and interesting to me, because it's its own niche. NWA is its own niche.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys don't get 1 hour of content a week. Yeah. That's important around here, man. We need that content. Spectaculars and green slime. Okay, Willie. Calm down, Willie. That's pretty hilarious, actually. Yeah, we don't got to talk about the Spectaculars. Like, in that match they had, it's like, watch out, Silas Mason. Rolando might jump up and punch you in the knee. Like, you really got to hand it to Rolando, because he usually can't reach it anyway. I crashed my car into the back of another car at the lights today, and Rolando got out and said, "I'm not happy." And I said, "Well, which one are you then?" Yeah, sorry. It's fun to make fun of Rolando. All the jokes kind of go over his head. Anyway, I'll stop. What do we got? Tim Storm. Tim Storm was with May. He's returning full time to the big news. Full time to wrestling. He's not going to be in the commentary booth. He's going to be tagging with Jack Stain, and maybe there's some tag title shots in our future. Jeremy, what do you think about Tim Storm coming back?
He's in better shape than Ricky Morton.
That's true. And that's what I worry about, Matt.
I read this in the Discord, and I don't remember who put it in there. I do believe it was our fearless leader Jay Cal that said a lot can be hidden in tag matches.
Yeah.
Jax is more than capable of carrying the load. We've seen that time and time again. He was hoisting Silvio and Troop on his shoulders every time they stepped in the ring, so he can definitely carry the load. I'm trepidatiously excited.
Yeah.
You never want to see anybody get hurt in the ring. Man, the older that these guys get and thinking that man, I still may have another run in me, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to see one of our heroes get seriously injured in the ring at some point. I don't want to see that.
I stood up in the front row, I think, that night at an NWA 75 when Tim Storm went down.
Yeah.
And he wasn't moving. He was just doing this.
Yep.
And we all stood up, and it was like, and I thought, at the time, oh, it's some angle they're doing, and my wife went, put your phone down. And I was like, you're right. This isn't great. And we don't know if there was an injury that night, but boy, it sure felt like one. And Tim, if the internet's to be believed, I love Tim Storm. He's such an amazing baby face.
Yeah.
If the internet's to be believed, he's 58 years old, and Jax is 42.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Dave. What do you think?
Well, like Jay has said and others have said, you can hide a lot in a tag team. It cuts down the time you have to be in a match. If Tim can be in there as the quote unquote babyface in peril, and then Jax can end up jumping in at the right time and making the save and doing the Hulk up, it gives them a good storyline to move down the line. And it's one of these things they as a team can work. But I think they can also possibly find some other wrestler within the NWA that is just starting and become a mentor to them and basically be almost like a young boy, like they have over in Japan, that works with the wrestlers and then steps up at a given point to basically that Tim may step back and manage the team. And now it's Jax Dane with insert wrestler A in, and then you have another wrestler that gets the rub.
Right.
Just because of who they're surrounded with and who either trained them or who they ended up beating their first match. I think it's good because Tim is a known NWA asset, and anybody that he is in the ring with, it may help. So I'm willing to give it a shot, and I'm glad that they're able to actually work that storyline of them against each other into now being partners.
I get his sentiment, and you're not wrong. Like Doty agrees, he wants Tim Storm, George South, and C.W. Anderson, these old timers in the NWA. I love all three of those guys. I love watching into it, but I remember watching a movie once where there was an athlete hockey player who's being forced to retire, and still wants to play. And his wife was saying, you can coach. All the coaches say that, they love coaching better than playing. And he says, you know why they say that? Because they can't fucking play anymore. That's why.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is kind of driven this forward a little bit. I want Tim to be okay, and I think he has so much to give, and I don't want him to end up like, Ricky Morton, who's one of my all-time favorites, and who I definitely don't want to see in the ring anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, Willie wants to see Candy and CJ and Natalia in a hot tub, please and thank you, with him. I don't know, Willie. I can only myself disappoint one woman at a time. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Dodie says, I just realized that the slime balls are actually Northeast guys. Someone tell Jaden that. He'll be happy. Just when I remember we talked about the NWA needs more Northeast talents.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys are out there, you're not in the Alliance blog Discord, let us know. Actually, it's in the comments down below, or the write-up, or whatever the hell you call it on YouTube. But if you need it, we can throw it in here as well. There's lots and lots of voices from the NWA fam and Alliance fam in there. Brian Idol and Paul Burchill are debuting on Power in the Ring next week. Brian Idol debuting. So we'll see how that goes.
His trunks have been in the NWA for a long ass time now.
Yeah, it's true. It's so funny that he's had the BI tights. I hope it's just like, but you're Mercurio, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea. Look, Mercurio's my stupid Italian cousin. Okay, don't pay any mind to that guy.
That's right. That'd be great. Okay, listen. Dave Scooby was at MLW FIGHTLAND for a live event with 4 matches. How long was it? Like 2 hours and a bit?
It was there was an hour of fusion tapings from 7 to 8, then about 8 to 10 they had FIGHTLAND, and then there was about another 45 minutes of taping after.
Oh, so, okay. That's great. So the taping kind of helps roll that out.
Yeah. But
Tony's like, where is Mercurio? Huh? Yeah. So let's do. Where's the video? Let's do the MLW video just to separate the segment. Here we go.
We are MLW. The ultimate stage where fighting styles compete for greatness and gold, where styles make fights. This is Major League Wrestling.
Man, that's cool. Dave put that together, I think. That's excellent. Dave, we had MLW FIGHTLAND. You were present in 2300 Arena in Philly, right?
Yes.
I believe the 4. Well, we can go through it, and obviously this is yours to lead. But maybe I'll just feed you the matches, and you can tell us how it went down with any depth that you want. We had, I think, first up were the MLW World Tag Team Championship ladder match.
Yes.
That's the Calling, which was Akira and Ricky Shane Page versus the Second Gear Crew, the One Called Manders, and Matthew Justice. How did it go down?
It was just, this was a good old fight. There was some wrestling involved, but with the ladders everywhere. I think there were 7 or 8 ladders around the ring and under the ring. It was a very good back and forth. It was a high intensity match from start to finish. You could see that there was miscommunication between Ricky Shane Page and Akira, and it came to the point where it basically cost them the match. So it was one of these things. Both teams gave it their all, but in the end, breaking up the team, basically, Akira is turning babyface whether he wants to or not. And the Calling, they have enough members that there will be an attack on Akira. So it's just one of those that he's going to be the breakout star. The Calling is a faction that builds wrestlers. Ricky Shane Page is I think he's the middleweight champion as well for MLW, but they've done a good job in MLW of switching the belts around when it makes sense. Now, the Second Gear crew, these are just good old boys that like to party and know how to wrestle. They aren't technical wrestlers by any means. They'll get down and just fight, and that's a good thing. So I think the right team won. You can see that there's a breakup on the horizon for the Calling. And Akira, I mean, he's just a great wrestler overall. And him turning babyface just by the actions of Ricky Shane Page during that match, it's going to be a good story that gets told over the next 3, 6, maybe 9 months.
Awesome.
But I like that they're switching the belts constantly and they're building up teams as they do it.
So
I just want to say that the one called Manders is probably one of the best wrestling names to ever have.
Yep.
It's a great name.
And if you know about Black and Brave, that is Seth Rollins' wrestling school, wrestling academy. That's where Manders came from.
Right.
And he's a youngin' himself. He's, I think, 30 or 31, and he's only been wrestling for about 5 years. So it's one of these things of he has a bright future ahead of him. His tag partner, Matthew Justice, is part of the Second Gear crew, and their third member is Mance Warner. And
Right.
we'll get to what happens with his match and him and Matt Cardona.
Yeah, Paladin sort of jumped the gun here a bit on us, saying talent's leaving, even interviewers. He's talking about Sam Laterna, just things come to an end. But hold on to your hat a little bit, Paladin, because you're not all the way correct. Hammerstone's not the champ either, by the way. But Dave will get to some of that. Then you got Matt Cardona, I believe, with Mr. St. Laurent against Mance Warner in a loser leave MLW match.
Yes, this was a no DQ loser leaves MLW match, and Cardona was playing his deathmatch king, and it's one of these things of they work it correctly, that they both know how to work the crowd. They know how to work well with each other. Cardona ends up hitting the ref. He grabs a chair and goes to beat Mance with it, lifts it above, and knocks the referee out. And in doing so, all of a sudden, his second comes running down from backstage and runs into the ring, up to the ring. And if you don't know who Steph De Lander is, that is basically Matt Cardona's partner in crime. But if you also don't know, her and Mance Warner are a real life couple. So she comes running down, she gets up on the ring, grabs Warner and just plants one on him. Gets back, gets in the ring, is pushing him towards going after Cardona.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, boom, she turns on Warner, ends up doing a run at him, sends him through a table. Ref comes around, does the 3 count. Bye-bye, Mance Warner. You're gone. Everybody's doing the na. Warner's like, okay, I'll leave. But before I leave, he knocks Mr. St. Laurent out. And I'm thinking to myself, wonder how they're going to play this. Well, at the taping after the pay-per-view, a guy who looks a lot like Mance Warner comes out even wearing the same boots, but he's masked.
Right.
Is it a wish list? I don't know. Midnight Rider? It told its story. I'm not sure how long he's going to be gone for, but Mance does a lot of GCW, and I think with like WrestleCade coming up and also WrestleMania coming up in April, they're rotating some people around. That the second gear crew doesn't have to be all 3 of them now. Now you have your tag champs. So let's give Mance a chance to heal up, go do his other thing. And when he wants to come back, he can petition to come back. Or, hey, maybe the Midnight Rider shows back up.
Did they name him the Midnight Rider, or are you just hoping?
I'm hoping they did. They made announcements of after they did a taping, they did a battle royal. And they announced some of the wrestlers, but I didn't catch all of the wrestlers that they announced because not all of them were announced over the loudspeakers. That the announce crew, basically the commentary crew, was saying, oh, here comes so-and-so. You could hear them over the crowd when the crowd wasn't yelling and screaming. But it's one of these things of it's a nod and a wink to Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA, the Midnight Riders.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But I mean, it told a good story, and it builds up. Not that Cardona needs to be built up, but Cardona's group, the World Titan Federation, the WTF, he's quote unquote, I guess, the leader besides Mr. St. Laurent, but it's building a story, and we'll just have to see what happens. They're doing monthly tapings and monthly pay-per-views. So if you want to follow, you can go online, MLW on YouTube. Fusion is shown I believe every Thursday night. So just go give it a chance. And if you like it, it's something different. It's a little bit of everything for everybody.
That's right. I'm going to murder this name, but I'm going to do my best attempt. Promociones Dorado, Rocky Romero, and Barbaro Cavernario.
Yeah.
With Selena De La Renta.
Yep.
Versus Ichiban and Mascara Dorada. Rocky Romero is your MLW, what do they call it? Their light heavyweight. They have a special name for it, don't they? They're junior heavyweight? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yep.
But this was a Lucha Libre rules match. So basically, you didn't have to tag in. A lot of double teaming. It's everything you'd expect if you do follow Lucha Libre. A lot of high flying. Both teams had good moments throughout the match. The closing moments saw Dorado and Ichiban end up picking up the victory. But Rocky Romero, I mean, they stayed strong. They're bringing in talent from CMLL and New Japan. So this being a Lucha Libre rules match, I mean, Rocky fits right in, and the Barrio, it was a highlight match.
Right.
I'm slowly but surely getting into the Lucha Libre. It's one of these things that, as with a lot of the wrestling, just suspend your belief. Just enjoy what you're watching. Because, I mean, after them doing all their flips, and you can say what you want, it may not be my favorite type of wrestling, but it impresses me. All these wrestlers that do the lucha style, more power to them. I mean, they're getting all these moves in. It's very rapid pace. You have to keep your eye on something or you'll miss something, and then the match is over.
Right.
So it's one of these things of just enjoy what you enjoy, but don't shit on something that you don't like. You don't have to like everything.
The thing I found about Lucha Libre when it came to this show is where we can go, okay, and then, EC3 ends up lifting, Tyrus over his head, dropping him on his skull, you can kind of go sort of move group by move group. Lucha Libre, when there's those matches, you can't do it. We're just like, this is who won. Here's a couple of high spots, right?
Yeah.
You gotta, wow, it's so quick. And then finally, the MLW World Heavyweight Championship, you got Alex Kane, your champion, the Suplex Assassin, taking on the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu, who I don't think has had the title in some time.
It's been at least, a year and a half, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was one of those matches that it was almost feeling out. They did some traditional wrestling moves to start off. Just regular wrestling holds. The crowd was really behind Alex Kane, the Bumaye Fight Club. It's something to be seen. If you ever get a chance to see MLW live, they have, I'd say, 10, 12, maybe 15 people come out. They're chanting. Just it gets you going. It gets them pumped up. The wrestlers come out.
It's for the people.
And it's for the people, yeah. Now, this was, I'd say it started off probably 70-30. That Bumaye was going, people were chanting, and then they started the Fatu. Then it got a little louder. Then it was almost half and half. This is one of those things of, I wouldn't say either of these guys are a heel, but they're definitely not a baby face. They're just badass wrestlers. That they go in, Alex Kane, he was controlling a lot of the action. Then they went to the outside, and this was, I mean, this match was one of those matches that they just let it ride. They weren't going to go for the count out and the cheap win. They used chairs in front of the referee. Referee's like, screw it, I'm not getting involved. I may get hit. So he just let the match continue. Majority of the match was fought outside of the ring. They used the ring barricades, chairs, tables, all that. Fatu ended up bringing a ladder from the ladder match that was under the ring. Match returned inside. They get in there. They use the ladder. They're bouncing each other off the ladder. Fatu ends up getting Kane in between the ladder, hits a springboard moonsault. Kane comes back, hits Fatu with a suplex onto the ladder, which is set up in the ring corner. And I mean, there's body splashes. It was just hard-hitting action. Then there's a chair in each corner of the ring. That Kane went and put a chair in each corner, but then the control bounced back and forth. It was a good, even fight. Fatu ends up flying over the top rope. He goes to hit Mr. Thomas at ringside. He's up on the ring rope. He goes, flies over. Thomas ducks to the side. Fatu flies over the top rope onto a couple tables that are set up outside the ring. Kane then hits a suplex on Fatu. A lot of near falls, but Kane just couldn't put him away. There's a lot of Samoan drops, a spear. Fatu will only stay down for 2 count. This was a good match, and it's one of these things that there were only 4 matches on this card for this pay-per-view, but this match ran 48 minutes.
Wow.
48 minutes, and it was just insane. Now, a lot of this, I mean, the action, it was nonstop. I mean, Fatu got speared through a table, still wouldn't stay down. Fatu hits a Samoan drop, does a double somersault from the top rope, goes for a pinfall, and Mr. Thomas of the Boomerang Fight Club pulls the referee out right before they hit the 3 count. Ref, however, lets Mr. Thomas stay. He's like, hey, we just got to finish this match. So they set up a couple chairs in the ring. Fatu ends up setting Kane on them. He goes for a somersault, and Kane comes up on the second turnbuckle. He moves out of the way. He goes up to the second turnbuckle, hits a suplex on Fatu onto the chairs. Then there's a rear naked chokehold, and Fatu ends up passing out. So he gets the win with a submission, and he retains the championship. But 48 minutes, that's longer than an episode of Power.
Yeah, that's why there was only 4 matches on the card, because one of them went forever.
It was just so insane.
You know, it's nice that they've given Alex Kane a nice run so far, you know, beating Fatu straight up with the rear naked choke, you know, beating Hammerstone the way that he did. He beat Willie Mack in there. Tom Lawler recently, right?
Yep.
At Slaughterhouse. And I love Filthy Tom Lawler.
And I mean, they're giving him good wins, and whoever ends up taking the title from him will be a champion that is built correctly.
Right.
That you've defeated a champion that has defeated a former champion, another former champion, champion from this federation, all this. It was a good down and out fight, and Alex Kane and the Boomerang Fight Club is majorly over. But right after the match, Matt Cardona comes down with WTF, and Joshua Bishop is their newest member. He basically looks almost like a Sid Vicious,
right?
But not as big. But they end up coming in. They attack Kane and the Boomerang Fight Club, and all of a sudden the lights go out. Alex Hammerstone comes down, gets in the ring, lights come on, and he's wearing a WTF shirt.
Right.
So basically, if you haven't followed what's happening with Major League Wrestling, Alex had asked for his release because he wasn't being used after he lost his title. He's like, hey, you're not using me, release me. They didn't release him. Mr. St. Laurent ends up getting his release and signs him to WTF. So it's basically almost an NWO type storyline where they're coming in and it's faction fighting.
Yeah, so, how well done was that? You know,
for me, it was amazing. I
was
loved it. It's one of these things that you could almost see something was going to happen, but you weren't sure what. Now, Cardona, he bounces around, but if he finds a home 1 or 2 or 3 places, it's great. He's there for the pay-per-view and the tapings, and that's one of the reasons why he wasn't at the NWA event on Saturday. So that's why NWA ended up having to do Jax Dane instead of Matt Cardona or Tom Latimer.
Right.
But it's one of these things that if all these different wrestling organizations can work with each other, they don't have to physically work with each other, but allow their wrestlers to wrestle for each other. That it's basically a handshake agreement of, we don't have a problem, but here's a list of all our pay-per-views or all our events. So-and-so, wrestler A who wrestles in your organization as well as the NWA can't make one or two of your events. Okay, you make an adjustment, you pivot. But I'm excited to see what's happening. They're going to be back in Philadelphia in January.
Mm-hmm.
In December, they're going to be in New York. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that, and I'm pissed because it's like it's one of my, I'm not going to say dreams, but I want to go see wrestling in New York City. To be able to say,
oh, man, I'm going to come down to Philly. We're coming down to Philly. It's going to be the Super Bowl champions again this year. So you and I will go.
Cool.
Yeah, New York could be great. Listen, I love the Beaumont Fight Club. Like, just to put them over like you did, those like dozen guys who come down in the line, and if no one's familiar with where that comes from, like that's Beaumont Fight Club comes from, I believe, the Beaumont Ali Beaumont, which is like 1974, 75. Rumble in the Jungle between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, where 74, where George Foreman said, like years later, like I was shaking in my boots because there's 100,000 people in that stadium saying in their native Congolese or Zairian at the time, like kill him.
Yeah,
like, they're like Ali, kill him, and that's where that comes from. Actually, what's his name? The guy from the tag match in the NWA had that written on his tights. The martial artist, Adrian Thomas. Yeah, he had Beaumont written on his tights. But anyway, they do that whole boxing train thing. They are a fight club, and I dig it. It just, when I was watching a couple of months ago, I forget who it was, but they had a young guy challenge Mr. Thomas.
Yep.
Lost. And then, but had a great showing, and they went, "You're in,"
You're in.
And
yep.
They're a fight club. I'm like, that's an amazing idea.
And then later on, Bougie, who was
right, Bougie, yeah.
He and Mr. Thomas ended up wrestling later on for the Fusion tapings.
Oh.
But it was a great match, and I mean, it's overall. I mean, I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10, just because, I mean, you don't realize how long 2 hours is, but there's only 4 matches. That it's one of these things that I'd rather have a shorter pay-per-view and have good quality matches, 4 or 5 good quality matches. And it can be done. You don't have to you can do a pre-show and that's cool, but then give me 8 to 10 good, strong matches over a 2.5 to 3 hour period. Because it's one of these things that there's no rule saying that, a pay-per-view or a premiere live event needs to be 4 hours or 5 hours with a pre-show and an after show and this and this. No, just round it up to the closest hour. If it's an hour and 50 minutes, find an extra 10 minutes to do something and make it 2 hours. If it's 2.5 hours, cool. If it's 3 hours, cool. But give me good quality matches. It's not always quantity, it's quality. Sometimes less is more.
I absolutely agree. And Jeremy was saying similar, like, I don't give us 15 matches when some of them just don't make sense. James H. Jackson was saying Fightland. PWI insider Mike Johnson is saying Hammerstone's tweet was true. The former champion in MLW reached an agreement that will see Hammerstone work the angle and finish up at the end of the year. The agreement was made ahead days of MLW Fightland. So that's interesting, but I still got to give the credit to Court Bauer and company. Like, just have, like, he tweets he wants out of his contract. He's going to go. It was on Cornette's, one of his 2 podcasts. Yep. Like, what's MLW going to do now without that guy? They don't have a. And then to have him show up at this event as a member of the NWO, like faction FTW, brilliant.
Yeah.
And if you look at the next that one shot they got going on in December, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's co-branded MLW FTW, and I think that is brilliant marketing.
But I mean, it's one of these things of he was brought out and it was explained that Hammerstone is part of this new conglomerate that Mr. Saint Laurent is putting together. Now They have a name in Matt Cardona. They have Steph with Cardona now. They have a couple other players there. They brought Hammerstone in as quote unquote an insurance policy.
Right.
So these guys don't have to get their hands dirty. They'll fight if need be. But Hammerstone came in and all of a sudden just started jacking everybody. So he's their insurance policy until he either leaves or the storyline runs its course.
Right.
Use him. I mean, you have a guy that hasn't been used in 2 months. Use him.
Right.
So it's one of these things that if they can do this and even go to a month to month, if you don't know, if you watch AEW and you don't know about MJF used to be with MLW. Mm-hmm. He did the right thing in putting everybody over before he left. And Richard Holiday was with him, as well as Hammerstone. They were known as the Dynasty.
Right.
Well, right now, Richard Holiday is nowhere to be found. If Hammerstone finishes up, I watch AEW a little, but it's not my favorite wrestling. But if certain wrestlers would show up and MJF needs some protection, what if the Dynasty reforms in AEW? It could. I mean, the people are there, and who knows how long Hammerstone will be there. Use him while you can, and then send him on his merry way.
Yeah, that would certainly be a boost. Well, I would hope to AEW as well, right? But James H. Jackson says, yeah, it still gives time for things to work out as well for Hammerstone. Mike says, good. Hammer fits with the WTF perfectly. He gets to stay in MLW, get some money for it, as well being a good angle with other vets. It's kind of win-win.
Yeah.
So perfect. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself there at the show. Sounds like you did. Yeah, awesome. Let us go now to the United Wrestling Network and a segment we call Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
United we stand. The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Well. Back again for another fun week of UWN programming. Unfortunately, my friend, they're still going back to the vault in the UWN as we await the December 17th announcement about details for the UWN.
Correct. Yeah, we're still doing the vault. But we had some really good matches this week. We had another doubleheader where we got a round of vault matches. And then the next hour was Red Carpet Rumble, this time from 2021, I believe. But the matches that we got this week focused on Sean Ricker and Percy Pringle, who, if you don't know who in the hell I'm talking about, that would be Mr. Eli Drake and Paul Bearer, or L.A. Knight and Paul Bearer, depending on how you want to look at it and what federation you may follow at this time.
Right.
But it was really good. The first match that we got was Ricker versus a very, very trimmed down Brian Cage. So trimmed down that I didn't even recognize the guy. Then we got a match with Ryan Taylor, who went on to be Tyler Rust in NXT and formed the Diamond Mine. And they were competing for the Percy Pringle title, which had no official standing in the UWN at the time. But being as it was associated with the great manager Percy Pringle, it was quite the title to hold, from what I understand. Then we got a short match. I don't remember who he was facing in the last match, but then after that they ran a clip where he was talking about Percy Pringle. This was right after Percy had passed away, unfortunately. It was very emotional, but very well done as well. Very tasteful. Ricker is not one that is short on words or anything, and there were a couple of times where he seemed to be struggling a little bit to find the proper thing to say. But all in all, it was very heartwarming, and I had just watched a special on the Peacock with Percy Pringle talking about Paul Bearer and his time with The Undertaker, and they touched on some of his earlier stuff as the WWF tends to do, but then the main focus was of him being Paul Bearer. And then, of course, with the WWE, once he stopped being Paul Bearer, he was never involved in wrestling again, which isn't the case, you know. But that's how the WWE likes to spin. You know, there's no wrestling universe outside of them. But it was a very good episode. I don't remember much about the 2021 Red Carpet Rumble. It's on the Memphis YouTube channel. Go watch it. You know where it's at.
I remember that one because that came down to Jordan Clearwater and Guy Tweekacetti.
Yes.
Clearwater had actually won, and Tweekacetti was number 1 or number 2 or something like that. And he had been lying in a corner for 30 minutes, doing nothing.
The old sleeping wrestler bit,
right? You know? And I thought, oh my God, they're going to give it to Tweekacetti. They're going to give it to the Tweak, and I mean, they didn't, but there you go, right?
There would have been 1 or 2 people in the crowd that was happy about that, but Guy's mom and dad don't buy enough merch to matter. So
there you go. Also, December 17th, David Marquez said, thank you. David Marquez said that there's taping coming for the return of the United Wrestling Network, which I imagine will be for Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
No mention of Derby City, so we don't know what's happening with that, if anything. Also, he said that the details he would be releasing this week on Facebook. So we'll keep you apprised of that one.
And with the no mention of the Derby City, and I touched on this a couple of months back, I feel that it may have been just a little too soon to try to start up another promotion outside of Hollywood after you just shut down Atlanta and Arizona not too long before that because they were underperforming. While the business is there in Louisville, it's being dominated right now by OVW, and I don't think that there's much going to get in the way of pulling people from that product over to a new one that they really have nothing invested in. OVW is a Louisville staple, so
sure, it's a shame because the production quality is so much better over in Derby City.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I noticed in the Discord, I think it was you that or a couple of people were pointing out that it was predominantly hard cam for their Thanksgiving show. A couple of times it zoomed in and out. I don't know what happened there in prior episodes. It hasn't been that way, so maybe there was a culling of the herd of sorts for the production team. I'm not sure, but that was kind of weird. But it was still a decent show. I enjoyed it, But as I tell you every week, go watch the UWN and all its affiliated products. Great stuff. They'll be coming back stronger than ever, I believe. And if you're not watching the UWN, may all your pizzas be Quebec. And if you don't know what that is, that's the Pop-Tart with the ketchup on it. Oh.
I thought you were going to say, may your turkey be dry, but that's just mean.
Yeah, no. I don't want anybody's turkey to be dry. I've had dried turkey. It's not good.
No. James H. Jackson said they showed a lot of MJF matches on the 15th anniversary in the Vault UWN shows we've been seeing. If there's one thing I think that Dave Marquez and the team there have been doing so well, it's timing in real time. Nothing's hotter than LA Knight. Show Sean Rickard, right?
Yep.
They did a bunch on Adam Pearce. They had the NWA stuff right when the NWA was ramping up. And it just wow, way to keep me interested as during the hiatus. So,
and I really haven't seen a drop in their numbers either.
Right.
As far as viewing day of and after, he hasn't really seen that much of a drop really in viewers on YouTube. So he's got his diehards are still showing up every week to watch what he's putting up, even if it is 15 years old.
It's true. Did you watch Memphis this week? Did you see the street fight that didn't go into the street?
Dave, don't you have booking to talk about?
and on that note,
I done told you guys, if you ain't watching, I'm done with this.
This is over. When I do the tagline, we're done.
We're done.
Where's my check? I'm going home. On that note, let us go over back to the NWA, to our fantasy booker extraordinaire, and a segment we call I Respect You, Booker Man. Well, let me get back here to this. No, that's not it. Oh, my goodness. Where is it? There it is. I got it. Jeremy's still laughing. For Dave, I keep forgetting to use the banners every time we do this. Yeah, sorry, Mike said I didn't want to comment on that, but you did, Tim. I stayed silent. I keep forgetting to use the banners now. There's so much to do with the backstage stuff. But this is a very succinct way of asking the question. I know you have a bit more to this, but should the NWA run against WrestleMania next year? What do you got for us?
Well, first off, when I say next year, it's not this coming year, but it's basically 15 months, 16 months away.
Right.
The WrestleMania 41. Now, 40 is going to be in Philly, and I don't know how extreme it's going to get, but it's one of these things that if the NWA is serious, they have over a year to start planning for a possible show on WrestleMania 41 weekend, which I believe is going to be up in Minnesota. So Minneapolis, St. Paul, basically the home of the AWA. Now, if they could go in. I'm not sure. I'm not going to WrestleMania in Philly. I'm going to some of the matches put on WrestleMania weekend. I'll be going to Game Changer Wrestling and Battleground at ECW Arena. They run events while WrestleMania is happening, because basically WrestleMania is a sellout each and every year. So why not have wrestling available for those that don't have tickets to go to WrestleMania? But it's one of these things, the NWA, they can do a live taping event like they did this past weekend, where they go in and basically test the waters. It's one of these things of, by the time WrestleMania 41 rolls around, the NWA will be more stable, both in how they run events and what's on TV. Now, it being up in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, Nikolai Volkov, or Nikita Koloff, is from Minnesota. Scott Simpson.
Yes, he is.
He has worked with the NWA in the past. Bring him in. Bring in as many people as you can that worked NWA, AWA, and WWF back in the day. I mean, you already have, Ricky Morton worked AWA along with Robert Gibson, so bring Robert Gibson in as well. Bobby Fulton, Fantastics, bring him in. If you can get the Killer Bees, bring them in. Tully Blanchard, Ronnie Garvin, Tommy Rich. If you can get any of these guys to appear, even for if you do a WrestleCon event type thing before the matches,
right?
Do that. But the NWA needs to, this is when you use your legacy and tradition, your wrestlers of the past, to build on and bring in some of these people. It doesn't have to be everybody, but have a couple names that people know that are affiliated with both AWA, NWA, and back in the day, the WWF.
It's a shame that we've lost so many already, which from that Nikita Koloff crowd, like Mr. Perfect was in that, Rick Rude, right? Hawk and Animal. Like they're just all the more reason, especially up in that area, to get on it and bring these guys in.
And I mean, if you don't know about the AWA up in Minneapolis, I mean, it's amazing how many people came out of the AWA and went on to bigger and better things. And only if Vern would have been able to expand on what he was doing. But it's one of these things. The AWA was a wrestling organization that had several different areas / territories, but it was a wrestling organization. And speaking of the territories, if the NWA is wanting to do something with their territories, bring in as many of the bigger names that they can. Bring in as many of your stars from all around that you feature on TV. Bring them in for this weekend. And if you're doing one event and there's 3 or 4 events going on, let as much of your talent wrestle for as many different organizations as possible. It's getting eyeballs on your product or your wrestlers. And one of these things of, it's time. It's one of these things of AEW says, well, we're not competition with WWE. That's bullshit. They choose not to do anything on WrestleMania weekends. NWA needs to get some eyeballs on you, go out there, make a presence known. Make people talk about the NWA because, I mean, think about it. Without the NWA, would there be a WWF or an AEW? That everything sprung from the NWA. So it's all part of history and tradition. So it's time for, in my opinion, the NWA needs to step up or step out. You need to go as mainstream as possible. And the only other way I can think about it is, what did Billy do this past summer? He wanted to get eyes on the Smashing Pumpkins, but also on the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reverse roles. The NWA is going to be at WrestleMania weekend. You can have some people show up to see wrestling, but what happens if Billy does an acoustic concert of Smashing Pumpkins music? And the only way you can get in is you have to have a ticket stub from an NWA show that ran that weekend.
Nice.
It's the Rock and Wrestling Connection. Do a combo and make it. You buy a ticket for one, show that ticket. You go to an extra, you go to a secret, quote unquote, Smashing Pumpkin show.
Genius.
Yeah, 100%. Like Jeremy said, hire this guy. Wow.
That's brilliant, Dave.
Well,
Yeah.
You just have to think it's one of these things of, I mean, Polka Dot Pam is a perfect example.
I was just thinking about her. Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins all the way. She will follow Billy to the ends of the earth. She also likes wrestling. Oh, hey, Billy's doing wrestling? Cool. Two of my favorite things. It's peanut butter, it's jelly, it's peanut butter and jelly together. It's the best of both worlds. You're not going to grow. It's one of these things. And NWA, you can say they're a niche as much as you want because they are. But if you can get some mainstream attraction off of someone else's quote unquote event or weekend, it's all WrestleMania weekend, but everybody clamors to get other wrestling to provide those that can't go to WrestleMania a chance to see stars of the future, stars of the past, and stars of the present.
And there's plenty of people that go to WrestleMania weekend and don't even attend anything that's WWE related because they'd rather see all the NWAs trying to steal the show.
Definitely.
I feel like if you mix the legends with the stars of today, then you've got something there, right? So if you're a young person who's new to wrestling, you don't know who Bobby Fulton is, or you don't know who Robert Gibson is, or you don't care, but you're there to see Max the Impaler or Silas Mason. That might be a nice synergy overall.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Dave, as always.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to some of the comments that came up here. Dodie said Minnesota was one of the NWA's original territories. Yeah, it was. I would love to see the NWA return there. James H. Jackson Jr. Even ROH run a Supercard of Honor pay-per-view Mania weekend all 21 years, and Tony has kept that tradition alive. So I agree that the NWA should run Mania weekend. Yeah, Dodie is correct here. It was one of the founding territories before they left and created the AWA. This is an oversimplified, perhaps unfair comment, but basically they wouldn't make Vern Gagne world champion, and so he decided to go be world champion. and owned everything.
That don't work for me, brother. I'm going to start my own company.
Yeah. And, if things had gone differently, it would have. Look, hey, listen, he found or was found by a young boy named Richard Fleer, who he trained and then went to pick him up. And when he quit and said, no, get back to running the stairs up in the warehouse that we own, and made him come back. And look how that turned out.
Yep.
The GOAT. So, 100% sure. What else we got here? James H. Jackson, show people Mania Weekend what studio wrestling's all about. Yeah, man.
Yep.
You figure Mania Weekend is essentially a wrestler's Disney World, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, it would be the perfect... they've got to do something over Mania Weekend. Just bite the bullet, swallow your pride, whatever in the hell it is that's keeping you from not doing it, and do it.
Yeah, I agree. And Willie said the All In Wrestling pay-per event was good. It was great. It was historic. And of course, I will rant for the Minnesota-based talents for NWA. Richard Fleer, who's that jabroni?
Who'd he ever be?
He wouldn't have spelt it that way if he didn't know Willie, but Mr. Ric Flair. Guys, before we call it a day, we struggled about a year ago to get the Alliance blog YouTube page to 1,000 subscribers. We really went to town on it. And, all of us, not just the three of us, but everybody in the Alliance really pulled together and on all kinds of social media. We're at 1,700 now. Less than a year later, it continues to grow. It's almost 1,800.
Oh.
So please, if, as Jeremy says, if you feel so inclined, please please subscribe, and please share these shows. Also, the Alliance Guy podcast, which is not on tomorrow night, as previously reported. This is a Thanksgiving break. But who are normally on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And of course, the pre-party, kind of the flagship for everything that we do, which is on Tuesdays at 5 Eastern and 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's the hour right before Power.
Too sweet to be sour.
Too sweet to be.
Yeah.
Didn't he appear in Memphis, or isn't he coming to Memphis next week? You're going to cover that one, aren't you? Sweet Jimmy Valiant? Handsome Jimmy? I
might. We'll see.
I already said the tagline.
Probably
will. 1 week it's going to be so bad, you're just going to come out and say the tagline, and that'll be it.
Oh, shit. God, I hope not. I hope not. That would mean that Dave put out shit as well, and I just don't see that happening, Tim.
Yeah. That is so. Please like and subscribe and to the Alliance blog, and they are at Alliance. We are at the Alliance, of course, at the Alliance blog on all the social medias, and alliance-wrestling.com. Your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Number one. Guys, where can they find you two? Dave, where can they find you on the socials?
Instagram and Twitter/X at Dave Scooby, and over on TikTok at Dave Scooby, the number 1.
Awesome. And Jer, how about you?
You can find me over on Twitter at HJWOTS and on Threads at Championship Wrestling Jeremy. And I wanted to point out that Dodie posed the question, who is going to watch Tyrus eat 3 plates of turkey on Thanksgiving? I think you meant who's going to watch Tyrus eat 3 turkeys on Thanksgiving. And unfortunately, that would be his suffering, starving family.
I told you could have what's left.
The scraps on the floor are for you. No more.
Guys, as we say every week, thank you so much for being here. This is, something that we all do together, and we can't do it without you guys. So
we could, but then we'd be talking to each other and look kind of silly.
No, we had lots of people on the stream today, so like more than usual.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. I'll get into it more next week because I've been lackadaisical, but tweet kindly at Billy at the NWA to restore the NWA Hall of Fame, please. Please, please, please. I'll start tweeting about the petition again. My life is easier than it was in the last month or so. But until next time, something's going on. Until next time, I don't know if you ain't paranoid, doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. for NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.